All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a really fascinating look at the absolute foundations of early childhood education, and specifically, how all of this happens right in your very own living room. There's this massive misconception out there. People think that properly educating a toddler or preschooler requires some specialized degree, endless free time, and just a huge budget for all those fancy educational toys. But the research and the guidelines we're breaking down today, they completely shatter that myth. Our main goal here is to demystify early learning. We're going to show you exactly how you can nurture a smart, happy, curious child without needing any expensive resources whatsoever. And honestly, it all begins with this incredible idea. Mothers, as the first teachers, may make a home a safe and engaging place to learn. It's such a beautiful validation of the foundational role that mothers, and really parents in general, play every single day. The source material heavily emphasizes that the first few years of a child's life are absolutely critical for their cognitive and emotional growth. You don't need to replicate a formal classroom because you, as their very first teacher, already have the power to create a warm, nurturing environment where your child feels totally secure to just explore and learn at their own pace. So let's look at the foundation, why early learning matters. Why does starting this process at home matter so much? Well, it's because your home is the ultimate natural classroom. When we dig into the specific benefits, we aren't just talking about a kid memorizing their ABCs a few months early, right? We're talking about stronger parent-child bonding, which builds that essential emotional security. We see significantly improved early brain development, which is directly fueled by the back-and-forth interactions they have with you. That builds crucial skills like language acquisition and complex problem solving. And all of this naturally leads to better readiness for school, a massive boost in creativity through unstructured play, and just increased confidence overall. Every single time you engage in home-based learning, you are literally giving them the tools to solve problems and communicate effectively for the rest of their lives. So how do we actually pull this off? First things first, we have to dismantle this enormous pressure that modern parents are constantly facing. You walk into a store or you're scrolling on your phone and you are just bombarded with pricey educational gear, flashing tablets, and those crazy expensive curriculum kits. Well, the source material is crystal clear on this. You absolutely do not need them. When you stock up pricey gear against simple consistency and creativity win out every single time. It is so much easier than the marketing algorithms want you to believe. Moving right along to creating a secure daily framework. Establishing this kind of daily rhythm is basically the secret sauce to helping toddlers and preschoolers feel secure, which lowers their anxiety and just opens their little minds up to learning. Here is exactly what that framework can look like in a typical day in the life. The source provides this wonderful, logical timeline that slots organically right into the rhythms you already have. So in the morning, when their energy is super fresh, you focus on storytelling and language activities. Then, as we move into the afternoon, you shift gears to creative play and DIY learning activities, letting them get their hands a little dirty. Finally, as the day winds down into the evening, you use that quiet time for reflection and bonding. It's this seamless flow that bakes learning directly into the natural high and low energy periods of your child's day. Next up, we have learning in action, the power of play. I want you to shift your focus entirely away from the idea of formal teaching. Play is unequivocally the best, most natural way for young kids to learn. Just imagine a rainy Tuesday afternoon. You pull out a simple jigsaw puzzle, and suddenly they're learning spatial awareness and grit. Or maybe you start a role-playing game where you pretend to run a grocery store in the kitchen. Suddenly they're learning communication and basic math concepts. Arts and crafts build those fine motor skills, while sensory play, like splashing around in a water bin or digging in the mud, literally stimulates new brain connections. These aren't just ways to pass the time. They're little micro-narratives that transform a standard, boring afternoon into a powerful teaching moment. Play is exactly how they test boundaries, understand physics, build stories, and figure out how the whole world operates. When they are playing, they are actively working. And this totally natural style of play leads us to specific educational philosophies that you can easily borrow from, like Montessori. Now, you've probably heard the word Montessori thrown around, and it can sound incredibly intimidating, right? We usually associate it with expensive, perfectly carved wooden toys and exclusive schools. But just look at this definition of Montessori at home, utilizing simple, everyday tasks like sorting objects, pouring water, and matching shapes. That's literally it. You're just taking basic, everyday household activities and using them to build your child's independence and motor skills. It is a highly accessible, totally stress-free way to foster real self-reliance. So for the busy parent, here's a really concrete sequence of simple activities that require absolutely zero prep time. Step 1, play alphabet games using what's already sitting in the room. You just ask, hey, can you find something that starts with the letter B? Step 2, practice counting with things you're already handling, like the apples you just pulled out of the fridge or the blocks scattered on the rug. And Step 3, enjoy storytelling together to boost their imagination. You don't need a lesson plan, you're just leveraging the environment around you to teach these core foundational concepts.
Let's move on to the Busy Mom's Guide, Strategies for Success.
It is so absolutely crucial to acknowledge that balancing work, life, and trying to teach your kid can feel incredibly overwhelming, but it is completely manageable. And to make it manageable, I want you to remember this really powerful mantra from the source material. Consistency is more important than perfection. Seriously, let that relieve you of the burden of trying to be some flawless educator with a perfectly curated, Instagram-worthy learning space. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistently present. A slightly messy, totally imperfect activity done a few times a week is vastly superior to a flawless, Pinterest-perfect activity that you are just too stressed out to ever actually do.
So how do we actually maintain that consistency in the real world? Well, you integrate learning into your daily chores. This is the ultimate practical tip. I mean, you have to do the laundry anyway, right? Turn it into a spontaneous sorting game. Have your toddler find all the red socks and group them together. Are you cooking dinner? That's a counting game. Have them count the carrots as you prep them on the counter. By weaving education into these completely mundane tasks, you're capturing real-life experiences as teaching opportunities, and you're doing it without having to carve an extra hour out of your already packed schedule. And that actually leads us perfectly to this incredibly liberating number, 10 to 15. The source boldly reveals that these impactful, structured learning sessions really only need to be 10 to 15 minutes long. That's it. You do not need to sit a 3-year-old down for a 1-hour lecture. In fact, you really shouldn't. Keeping the sessions brief ensures that your child stays engaged, energetic, and curious. When it comes to early learning at home, quality always trumps quantity. Those small, consistent 10-minute efforts, they compound into massive developmental gains over time.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. We've seen that you already have everything you need right at your fingertips to nurture a smart, confident, and happy child. So I want to leave you with a quick question to hopefully change your perspective right now. How will you turn your very next everyday chore into a 10-minute learning opportunity for your child? Take a look around your home today. Find that small moment of play and connection, and just remember that you, as their first teacher, are doing a truly fantastic job. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.